仮面ライダー
Decay, 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 no!
Hi guys, I know I'm a bit late to the party on this, but for today's video, I'm going to be giving you my review on Episode 1 of Super Space Sheriff Gavan Infinity. Without further ado, let's begin with the review. Okay, so the episode opens up with an explanation on the state of the universe, but also we get this epic sort of narration about the state of the universe, plus the various, things that's going on in the universe. And then it cuts to an epic space battle between this enemy force and our main, Galactic Federation police, and our main heroes, the Space Sheriff Gavans. And then we see like an epic, space fight, and then we see Gavan Infinity plus Gavan Luminous plus Gavan Bushido on their mechas, fighting, this space battle. But it turns out to be a vision by this person, and we found out this person is actually our main character's, boss, that being Reiji Doki, who is Gavan's Infinity. But we find out this character has the vision is Reiji's boss, that being a person named Daisuke, and he sees the vision about this battle and premonition. And then we cut to Earth, our main Earth, which is, Reiji's, universe / Earth, that being, Gavan Infinity's world / Earth. But we cut to Earth and explain in the 21st century that humans and aliens live together in harmony. So sort of like a Deck Ranger type of, thing going on there. But basically, humans and aliens are living together peacefully in the 21st century. But of course, not all things are good. We get, some criminals. We get alien criminals, and we get some human criminals. And we cut to see this human criminal basically stealing some sort of, money / jewelry, and he's also, being chased by these two, police officers, that being, a police officer, and his robot companion. Again, I already got, their names written down, but I can't find them on my notes. But basically, we see the police officer and his robot companion. Basically, they're going to be the comic reliefs of the series, which is, fine. But basically, this police officer and his robot companion are chasing down the criminal, and the criminal uses the main sort of like gimmick for this series, but he uses an evil version of the gimmick, that being, Emu gears. Again, I'm still learning, the stuff in episode 1, so it's going to take me a while once I get into the groove of things when I review the future episodes of Gavan Infinity. But basically, he uses the main gimmick of the series, but an evil version, that being Emu gears. And so he uses it, and his arm turns into like a alien, monster gun, and he's, blasts away, the police officer and his robot companion. And he, gets away, and then we meet our main character, Reiji Doki, who is none other than Gavan Infinity, but we don't know that yet. But basically, he introduces us himself. He's a officer of the Galactic Federation Police. And then, basically, the criminal just laughs him up because Reiji is part of the documentation department. But we do find out why, Reiji's sort of a joke in his world / a joke to everybody around him. But he basically, Reiji introduces himself to the criminal, and then the criminal sort of lackey / gang shows up, and they detain Reiji, and so the criminal gets away. But of course, Reiji's like, man, what a day, he says. And then he kicks, the goons' butts, and then and then Reiji catch up to the criminal. The criminal uses of course, the Emu gear, his corrupted Emu gear, to try to attack Reiji. But then Reiji transforms into Gavan Infinity, and then the henshin sequence is a bit flashy, but also very quick. But we do find out why the henshin sequence is quick once we get to the middle part of the end of the episode. But basically, Reiji henshins into Gavan Infinity, and he basically, uses one of his Emu gears to, detain, the criminals and part of his lackeys. And then we see Emu says, another case closed. And then, we see the officer and his robot companion show up. Reiji dehensions. And of course, officer makes fun of Reiji for, not picking up the slack. Basically, Reiji's, again, a complete joke, but we found out why he's a joke to everybody. and then the officer makes away with the criminals, and then Reiji just goes about his day, and then he goes into this parking lot thing, and then he goes back into space with his space shuttle, and then he goes back to his headquarters, the main headquarters for his department. And then we see on the two characters, we see Aigi, which is an AI girl, artificial intelligence girl, robot type of companion to Reiji. And I'm forgetting the other character's name. I'm pretty sure they didn't mention his name in the episode. Basically, he's sort of the tech whiz of the organization. Plus, he's sort of the monitor guy, the guy in the chair, if you would say. But they didn't say his name. I'm gonna learn his name once episode 2 comes around, when I review episode 2. But basically, he's the tech whiz, and then we meet also Reiji's boss, which is Daisuke, and then we find out Reiji's talking to Aigi and the tech whiz guy, the guy in the chair, essentially, and then he talks about his successful day, and then we get to see an alert on screen, and we see Reiji's boss, Daisuke, basically telling him that there's been another disturbance in this part of the multiverse, and we see a shot of another galaxy, which is basically going to be Gavan Bushido's world, but we don't know that yet. And so they get a trace of a corrupted Emu energy gear type of emotion thing on Gavan Bushido's Earth, and they had to travel to there. And so Reiji's mission is to travel through that world, detain the situation, and then report back to base. And so Reiji and the crew goes to that world, and we found out Gavan Bushido's world is pink due to the negative emotions or the dark Emu gear that's emitting on that world. And then we get to see this sort of evil riot going on with our sort of the villain of this episode, the villain of the week of this episode, who's another citizen corrupted by this Emu gear, and he's sort of the villain of the week of this episode. And we see this riot going on with the people and the police on that world, and we see the villain of the week's little sister just basically telling him, "Why are you doing this? This isn't you." And so he's like, "Shut up!" And so he just basically blasts her and everyone around him. And we get to see Reiji shows up, showing up to save the day, and we see Reiji uses his henshin device to use another Emu gear to basically detain the situation and basically stop some of the goons that are going on there. And we see Gavan Bushido shows up to lend a hand, or at least try to lend a hand, but again he managed to help Reiji and the villain of the week's sister escape. And so the villain of the week's sister is really injured, and so Aigi shows up in her sort of first aid type of attire to help her out. And we see a little conversation with Gavan Bushido, his name is Setsuna, by the way, forgot to mention that. So Setsuna and Reiji talk a little bit, but Reiji's like, "Don't worry, I got this." And then we cut to the villain of the week wreaking more havoc with his henchmen / goons. And then we see Reiji shows up to lend a hand with the police there, the local police there. And then Reiji's like, "Your sister didn't want this. Can't you tell that she's hurt, and that she's hurt emotionally, and that you're hurting people?" And then he's like, "I don't care about that." And we see him just fighting Reiji. And of course, eventually the negative Emu gear that the villain of the week has shows up, turns into a monster, and then Reiji's like, "Finally, here we go." And then Reiji and also Gavan Bushido's there, Setsuna, who's Gavan Bushido. So Setsuna's there to witness Reiji fight, and then Reiji henshins into Gavan Infinite, and then Reiji fights the monster, and then we get this explanation similar to in the original Gavan series. They explain, in the original Gavan series, when Gavan henshins, they explain, the henshin sequence, and explain why, time, stops, and why the henshin works. So we get an explanation on the henshin work sequence there. That's pretty cool detail, by the way. And so Reiji henshins into Gavan Infinity, fights the monster. The monster's pretty tough, but Reiji's not giving up. He gives a pep talk to, the villain of the week, who's, just listening to Reiji's hero speech, and then Reiji pulls out his Garuvium blade, which basically is a retool of the Dawn Brothers sword. And so Reiji uses his final attack, defeats the monster, and the villain of the week is remorseful. But of course, the villain of the week gets arrested by the local police, along with, Setsuna there. And then Setsuna has asked Reiji what's a Gavan Infinity? And then Reiji's like, let's talk about this, peacefully. And of course, Setsuna henshins into Gavan Bushido, and thus the episode ends off there. Boy, what a solid start / solid premiere to a new tokusatsu series / a new Gavan series. What are my overall thoughts on the first episode of Super Space Chef Gavan Infinity? Again, solid start, solid premiere, decent start. Love the character so far. The suits for Gavan Infinity and Gavan Bushido looks good, especially seeing Gavan Infinity's suit in action looks pretty good. The fight scenes look good. The CGI looks good. The characters, I'm really liking Reiji so far. Reiji's personality is that he's your standard tokusatsu main character, but also he has a chip off his shoulder, and he also he's pretty damn cool. He's basically a cool guy, but he can also be funny too. He has a fun personality and a fun heart to him. But overall, the first episode of Super Space Chef Gavan Infinity, pretty solid start. Super excited for the next episode. And yeah, that's pretty much going to be it for my review on Super Space Chef Gavan Infinity. But yeah, let me guys know in the comment section below. What are your thoughts on the first episode of Gavan Infinity? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Let me know in the comment section below. And stay tuned for more videos on the channel. And stay tuned for more Tokusatsu and Transformers content on the channel. And stay tuned for more Tokusatsu related content on the channel. And I do plan on re-continuing my Kamen Rider Zets reviews. I'm going to be starting off with episode 2. So stay tuned for my episode 2 review of Kamen Rider Zets. I'm going to be re-reviewing Kamen Rider Zets. I'm going to be reviewing episode 2 all the way up to episode 22. So I know I got a long ways to go to reach up to the current episodes of Zets. So stay tuned for that. And stay tuned for more content in general on the channel. And I do plan on making a let's play video of Persona 3 Portable. That's coming on the channel pretty soon, so stay tuned for that. My first gaming related video on the channel, so stay tuned for that. And I do plan on making more non-tokusatsu related content on the channel, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, that's pretty much going to be it for this video. Make sure to like and share this video. Also subscribe to the channel. By subscribing to the channel, you'll be really supporting me as a content creator and really supporting the channel. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.